Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Disc Connected. It is wonderful to see many of these names in the chat that can't ever be here on Thursdays. And we're live on Tuesday for the first time in a few weeks. Nice to see everybody. It's been a while. Hope all is well. Had a super busy weekend over here. If you watched the show last Thursday, you saw that frequent guest on the channel, comedian Jeremy Long out of Los Angeles. He flew here to Missouri to hang out all weekend. So we were busy as hell. We did a lot of stuff, so I feel like I'm behind, but I've been eager to be approaching this day for quite some time. I've been planning this for a while with Mondo Macabro. Chris and I from They Live by Film have been talking about doing this. I feel like literally all year. We've been looking forward to doing this big giveaway. Hope you guys are ready for that in a little while. Mondo Macabro revealing the next two titles that we are able to pre-order here in about 9 days. So hope you are ready and eager for those as well. Beyond that, Jared is ready to drop some secrets of upcoming possible titles for the Halloween sale and maybe even a look forward to 2024. In the meantime, I really thought that an event as special as this, the first time that we have a label here to drop exclusives on the channel, would call for a special guest host. Chris Haskell of They Live by Film is a close friend of mine. We've done so many things together. He's been on the channel many times. He's even interviewed Jared himself twice. Chris is a wonderful person that supports many of these labels. He has an ongoing series where he writes about lots of these titles that are put out to show people the appreciation for all of these films that are in these cases that people love, that are a part of these, so that people can appreciate the film that much more. Chris is a wonderful person, and I'm stalling ever so slightly because he is running 1 to 2 minutes behind. He will be here in just a moment. Chris will be here. But in the meantime, I guess it's the perfect time to introduce the man of the hour. So without further ado, Jared Auner from Mondo Macabro. Hi, Jared.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Ryan.
Welcome. This is, I think this is your first live show, right?
It is, yeah, the first sort of live stream I've ever done on anything ever. So, yeah. So if I say something really stupid or offensive, I apologize.
It's all right. We're on 11-second delay. I'll have the people in the studio.
Oh, good.
We'll be fine.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Well, as we go out, throughout the entire night tonight, please share your background with Mondo Macabro in the chat. Send some comments in on some of your favorite titles, things that you wish Mondo would put out, questions that you have for Jared, anything that you have, bugging you that you just want to hear Jared talk about. I will do my best to filter as many of them as I can up to him, and we will absolutely discuss as soon as possible. I love Bruce is out there and says, should I jump in as a substitute?
Yeah, Bruce has longer history with Mondo Macabro than I do, actually.
And there's not many that do. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he was helping Pete out with stuff going way back to the DVD days. So, yeah, if you haven't had Bruce on, Bruce should be on your show at some point.
Bruce is on my very short list. I've been eager to have him on, and it's been wild behind the scenes. Some of the interviews that I've done, I've stacked up like 6 guests and got them done. So there's been like 2 months in a row where I haven't done any interviews, and I'm just now reaching where I have to do some now. All right, so let's get into the background. First of all, for anybody that's not checked out Mondo Macabro before, which somehow there's still a few, what do you do for Mondo Macabro?
I think the most immediate thing is I run the web store, and do all the orders myself. So that's the big thing is I run the web store, I run all the social media, I fulfill orders, answer emails. So that's the day job. That's what, that's the dishwashing aspect. That's how I make money. That's all that stuff. Some of the more fun stuff that I do is I help create the extras or corral talent for the extras, and sign movies, including the 2 we're going to reveal tonight. Both were movies that I signed, so that I made the deal for. So, which is one of the reasons I wanted to come on and talk about these movies live with you, is I'm really excited about them. They're sort of both really fascinating, really interesting movies that I was really excited to put in the Mondo Macabro catalog.
They feel like very Jared titles. For anybody that pays attention, Jared rides hard for Asian cinema all across like Facebook primarily. You chime in a lot with
Yeah.
some of your feelings on them there. How did you get the background with Asian cinema primarily?
I think it's sort of grown over the years. I mean, I honestly, I think the first movies that I was obsessed with as a kid, other than Star Wars, like anybody, were Godzilla movies. So it's sort of always been sort of as a background, you know. Later it was Kurosawa when I was a teenager. And then it just moved on to different things. Wong Kar-wai when I was in my 20s, and on and on. And I think with the cult stuff, the more sort of Mondo Macabro stuff, it was the Euro stuff that really drew me in early on, like a lot of people. But especially over the last few years, especially the last like 5-6 years, it's really become sort of my primary cinematic interest is stuff, particularly East Asia, Japan, Korea, and like Greater China, like Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Chinese mainland cinema. All really interesting to me. And I love Indian cinema a lot. Huge fan of Indian cinema. In fact, that's something that's been in the last couple of years has been more and more of an interest of mine.
Nice.
So, and then Southeast Asian, like Indonesian and stuff like that. So yeah, wide variety. There's just so much interesting. And it's, for me, there's a lot going on now with Asian cinema contemporarily. That's a bit more interesting than a lot of, I think, Western cinema.
That makes sense. And obviously a lot of the Asian cinema has been being hit hard by a lot of the labels lately. So it's cool for a lot of people just now getting into it.
Yes. Yeah, it really has. The Hong Kong stuff has just gone crazy, hasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, and it's sort of the one regret, the one sort of sadness that I have about Mondo Macabro is we've never done a Hong Kong film.
Wow. Yeah. I've never put that together.
The closest thing we've done is Challenge of the Tiger, which was the second feature on the For Your Hide Only DVD, which was a Hong Kong Spanish co-production produced by an American, Dick Randall, which is a fun movie. It's going to be on Severin's Bruceploitation box set because it's got one of the fake Bruces in the lead role. And who also directed the movie, or maybe directed the movie. I don't know. It's sort of up in the air, but yeah. So that's the closest we've ever come. I will reveal this much. I am this close to maybe signing one, but we're trying to find good materials for it.
Interesting.
So that's all I can say because it's not signed yet and it's not a guarantee. So, but so close. So
well, close. I have another question about that, but before we get there, let's bring on the other guest host, Chris Haskell from Live by Film. Thanks, Chris.
Hello.
It's good to see you.
Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Yes.
What's happening?
Gotta change so Hong Kong,
I'm on the Courtyard Marriott Wi-Fi strength here. So
no.
Hopefully y'all can hear me okay.
Yeah, you're a little stuttery. You're a little bit. Yeah.
Mostly
That's
video.
Just how I am in real life.
Oh, is it? It's all the drugs, man. You got to get off the drugs.
So Hong Kong title coming to Mondo Macabro. Is there something that would make it more Mondo rather than Neon Eagle? Which I know it's not a Neon Eagle night, but just curious how you would answer that.
Yeah, it's a horror movie.
That makes sense.
Neon Eagle is more action and exploitation oriented. So
right.
So with Mondo, the horror is sort of the mainstay. And then as horror sort of gets into sort of erotica or art house stuff or exploitation, that's sort of the Mondo makeup, you know, whereas Neon Eagle is more action oriented.
Did I hear you say that you're committing to 10 Cat 3s? Is that what I heard?
I wish. The question was like, I was lamenting that Mondo Macabro has never done a Hong Kong film, and and we haven't, not really. In the midst of this sort of explosion of Hong Kong cinema, it's everywhere. So, and we're this close to maybe getting one. So we'll see.
Very interesting. Well, we've already got all kinds of questions and comments in the chat. Going to highlight a couple, and then we'll get into some more. First off, Barney the Cantankerous says his first Mondo order arrived last week. Congrats. Hope you enjoyed.
Hey, yeah. Wow, his first ever order. That's pretty cool. I guess the two most recent titles, I guess.
I would assume so.
Yeah, the Sinister Dr. Orloff and Shadow of Death. Yeah.
Then we got a comment that you're probably going to love. My favorite film from Mondo is Silip, but I've never seen a dud from them.
Close to my heart. Thank you, Adam. That is one of my very, very favorites. It's one of the best films we've ever done. Yeah.
We got one from Ronnie here. This is The Blood Spattered Bride is my favorite. One of the best 70s lesbian vampire movies. Great Sam Deegan, Kat Ellinger commentary. That is a killer disc. Yeah.
It's a great disc. Really beautiful restoration of that film.
Yes.
And as you know, and me saying Silip is one of my favorites. Blood Spattered Bride is one of Pete's favorites. Pete Toombs, the founder of Mondo Macabro. That's one of his absolute favorite films.
Well, I got into Mondo Macabro a long, long time ago. I want to hear, because I don't think I remember Chris talking about it. Chris, how did you get into Mondo to begin with?
Okay. So it's tied into the question I was going to ask Jared here, actually. So, Jared, we talked about this a little bit the first time you came on, but for those who haven't heard it before, I always felt like it kind of makes sense that y'all haven't done any Hong Kong movies or, Celestial Pictures or whatever, Shaw Brothers stuff. Because, the way that I always envision Mondo is that y'all are out there sort of like in the jungle with the machete, like chopping down new trails for people to go on, right? That other boutiques can kind of follow, but it's rare. I can't really recall a place where you've gone on like a paved path and found a release where there's already, a ton of connects into a studio or a ton of connects into like a producer or rights holders. It seems like y'all kind of live on the edge a lot.
Oh, well, certainly, yeah, we do a little bit. It's always sort of been what we've tried to do, is tried to find things that are a bit more out there or a bit underseen or undervalued. But I can't say it's completely true that we've never like followed in where someone hasn't, or that we wouldn't do, say, a Shaw Brothers. For one thing, there's a ton of Shaw Brothers stuff that's not been exploited yet. They did all sorts of movies. They didn't just do martial arts films by any means, and not that we would do some of their musicals or comedies, but there's lots of horror and exploitation that has not yet come out. I have a list of things I would love to do for both Mondo and for Neon Eagle. So yeah, and the other big case right now is Toei, the Japanese studio. The two films we'll be revealing tonight are both Toei productions. And that was, honestly, I got that connection through Jesse, because Jesse at Cauldron. Jesse had signed Zero Woman. There you go, representing. He had signed Zero Woman originally it was supposed to be a Cauldron release, and I just asked very nicely, please, Mr. Jesse, would you give me their contact info so that I can? so that was a case where just and he was kind enough to do it. So that was a case where we were just going. Other people have done Toei films and are doing. There's a huge amount of Toei stuff coming out right now, but we've sort of been able to find movies that have are sort of underneath the rocks that no one else has found yet, including the two tonight, which I'm very excited about.
The direct answer to your question, Ryan, is I found y'all through Hiruko the Goblin initially.
Okay.
And then I was like, wait a minute, there's a lot of really good shit on here, including some Indonesian cinema, which I didn't really know people actually put out on disc. I grew up over there, so that was exciting.
You grew up in Indonesia?
A little bit, yeah. I spent high school there.
Wow. Oh, that's really fascinating. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I wasn't as into movies as I was now. I had no idea they had this amazing exploitation heritage. But it's fun to see the movies now.
Yeah. So many movies there, like Lady Terminator and sort of other movies. There's a lot of just great shitty shots of Jakarta and stuff. I don't know. Were you in Jakarta or were you in a
yeah, that's where I was. Yeah.
So it must be really cool to just sort of see what it looked like in the 80s and stuff. I would think that's something that really fascinates me in old movies, is seeing how cities and towns looked.
Totally.
In whatever time period the movie was shot in.
and I don't want to make this an Indonesia cast, but specifically about Indonesia because it's this interesting kind of culture where it grew up as a port city. And so, as a port city, there's a lot of lascivious activity that takes place when
Of
sailors
course.
come on shore. And so, it's this weird thing where it's like 98% Muslim, but it's also very open sexually. And
Right.
it's
Right,
just
right, right.
kind of assumed that if you go over there as a married man, you're going to leave your wife at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm half joking, but like, unfortunately, it happens a lot. So, you know,
Interesting. Yeah.
it's just these two cultures like combining it. So the art coming out of Indonesia is always super interesting.
Sure. Yeah, it's a very interesting sort of melting pot
Yeah,
culture over there,
yeah,
with lots of different cultural influences going back thousands of years, up to right now, with the Americans having been there and had bases in Indonesia and stuff and everything. There's a real interesting culture, and those exploitation movies in the 80s. Some of those are coming out through Terror Vision. Some will be coming out through Mondo Macabro. Some will be coming out through Neon Eagle. It's rich. Those movies are so much fun. I mean, if you
yeah,
guys out there who are listening to this or watching this, if you're into the Hong Kong stuff, the crazy Hong Kong stuff, but haven't seen some of these Indonesian movies, you're in for a treat. It's like a craziness on a similar level, except the movies are a bit cheaper and
yeah.
a little bit more like culturally isolated in a way that Hong Kong movies aren't. It's really interesting. I'm really into it, and I'm really excited. We're going to be doing some more, and other labels are doing some too. I know TerraVision has some, and there's another label I won't mention just because we're working with them a little bit. There's another big label doing a big Indonesian thing soon. So, yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. Get hyped.
Well, it's 2023. We're into September. I think the last time you and I talked was like early 2022. So a lot has happened since then. That's when we first got the Neon Eagle kind of tease, and nothing had happened since then.
Right. Yeah. That was, yeah, that seems like so long ago. Oh, I've missed you, Ryan.
And you. But the big question, how's the year overall been for Mondo? Because obviously we're in this strange time where a lot of people are focusing on the fact that some of these seemingly impossible titles that we've been told will never come out on Blu-ray somehow are getting announced like every 72 hours at the moment. And everybody's just in this weird whirlwind of, well, there's so much to buy. My worry through a lot of this is smaller labels that don't have these giant fan bases might get overlooked, but I feel like Mondo Macabro's kind of been on an incredible run for like 3.5 years now. Chris is gone. Who needs him?
Oh, Chris, come back. Yeah, I mean, the year has had its ups and downs. It's good. I mean, it's never terrible or anything. But I think what you're talking about a little bit is that there is a little bit of fatigue. Maybe there's just so much out there.
Right.
There's so many UHD upgrades, and then new stuff that, like you said, stuff that people didn't think would ever come out, and it's just there's a lot of stuff. And sometimes I think Mondo Macabro can get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
Because we are doing a bit more niche-y films, kind of smaller scale films. And we also don't do like huge packaging things.
Right.
There he is.
Curse the Marriott.
Yeah. The Marriott Wi-Fi. So it's been good. I would like it to be a little bit better.
Right.
But that's not to say that things are bad or anything, or things are, we're in no danger of going away. I'll put it that way. Yeah.
Well, and this last year, we've seen a couple really exciting things. We saw the first Mondo Macabro 4K title in Dr. Caligari.
Won't be the last.
We saw the first box set in Bollywood Horror.
Might be the last.
I kind of figured that comment was going to come right after that. There are still so many things that have yet to get this wonderful boutique treatment, and every single time you guys announce titles, it seems like half the community is paying attention, and then a smaller subsection of that is going, what is this? I've never heard of it. And that gift every time is so wonderful to see. So how do you feel like the reception has been to the people that do continue to buy from you this last year?
It's been really great. It's been really, I think we do have like a core audience, especially that will buy the limited editions, that will stick by us, basically, that will buy the bundle option that we give, which is all the titles in one go.
Yeah.
And are excited by just about everything that we put out. We were really gratified over some of the excitement and sense of discovery from not this last group, not the two, but the group before that. Night of the Executioner, Broken Mirror, Ravishing Danny, and especially the Greek movie The Fear, which was my favorite, and I think is maybe top 10 Blu-rays we've ever done. It's, if you guys have not, I don't know if either one of you or if any of you, the people commenting now, if comment if you've seen The Fear and what you thought of it. It's a tremendous film. Not necessarily the first thing you might think of when you think of Mondo Macabro, just because it's not necessarily a horror movie or really sleazy, but it's got a very dark energy to it. There's a fantastic score, and it's Greek. We've done tons of Greek movies. Pete is a huge Greek film fanatic, especially stuff from the 60s. But what's nice is that movie seemingly has found its audience. It's had a lot of good reaction. Sales are okay. It could be better, but the fact that so many people who had no idea what it was have seen it and have gone on social media or gone to the Blu-ray.com forums. Shout out to the Blu-ray.com forums people if you're out there. That have gone and posted about how much they like this movie and that everyone should check it out, has been really, really great for us to see, and makes us feel like we're doing the right thing, that we're still on the right track. We're still putting stuff out there. So that's been a high point of the year.
Jared, is there a name for Greek exploitation? Like Canada has Canexploitation?
I don't know. Not really.
Okay.
You're putting me on. I'm trying to think of.
Oh, maybe there's not. I'm just curious if there's like a if there's like a well-known name, but it doesn't seem like it's like a common thing.
No,
Chris is looking for you to
really.
coin one right now.
Yeah. No, I'm just not that clever. I'm sorry, guys. It's not a. I mean, there are some things that have, like the Nikos Masterakis, the guy who did Island of Death, which is really fun, and a bunch of really stupid, trashy 80s movies with George Kennedy or whatever in them. But like the real Greek trashy stuff, I mean, we're kind of the only ones doing any of that. And it makes sense because they're never huge sellers. So I mean, it makes sense that not everyone is doing it, but we really like it. And it's sort of an area of European exploitation cinema that's really unexplored. So there's I'll say now there's a lot more coming. We have a bunch coming next year. So
before we get into our first reveal, I would like to kind of have you squash what is probably going to be a whole bunch of questions in the chat if we don't ask this question. The big topic amongst a lot of collectors over the last, we'll say 18 months, is upgrades, whether that be from DVD to Blu-ray or DVD all the way up to 4K. Obviously, Mondo Macabro hasn't done much of that yet. Do you have any gauge on how much you all will plan to do that, or if that's even really a part of the mission right now?
It is, yeah. It can be. There's films that have been part of our library and our catalog that we continue to love and think that there's still a place in the marketplace for them. So, like, I saw somebody mention in the chat, "Girl Slaves" of Morgana Le Fay. I can't announce that right at the moment, but in fact, that was way back when we announced that we were going to be doing Alucarda and Girl Slaves of Morgana Le Fay on Blu-ray. It was like two of the first ones we ever announced. Right. Both fell through hugely. Alucarda because the elements were lost or destroyed, from what we understand, and Girl Slaves because there was a huge rights issue that came up because we started looking into redoing it for Blu-ray. Those have been cleared up. it's ours. We still hold the rights to it. It's just a matter of, I think at this point we may want to do a new 4K restoration of it and do a UHD.
Interesting.
I can't give a timetable on that. I don't know when that'll happen, but it's something we want to do. It's a really terrific movie, and it's a favorite of Pete's. So it will happen. It's just a matter of when. Beyond that, yeah, there's other stuff. There's other stuff. In fact, I'll reveal something maybe a little bit later in the show. That's an upgrade plus.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's probably time to get into our first reveal.
Yes.
Are we ready for that one?
Yeah.
We're going to hype up our first title, which is the Japanese release of The Inferno. Can you tell us about The Inferno?
Yeah, this is a Toei film from 1979. It is a remake or a reimagining in the current parlance of the 1960 film Jugoku. Jugoku means hell in Japanese. If anyone's seen the classic Nobuo Nakagawa film from 1960 by Shintoho Studios, absolute classic. It's in the Criterion Collection. Really wild movie. This movie might be better. I actually prefer this version, as good as the original is. This movie is directed by Tatsumi Komishiro, who was a director who worked at Nikatsu, making Roman porno. He made movies like Woman with Red Hair, Woods Are Wet, which is a really disturbing, really awfully disturbing and creepy film. He made one called Yakuza Justice, Erotic Code of Honor, which is a huge favorite of mine. Honor, Honor, not Aunor, like my name. So this one it has a little bit of that sort of decadent, perverse feel to it, sort of like the Nikatsu films, but it's on a completely different scale. It's quite epic. The story is much better than the original Jugoku. Yeah, there's the original Japanese cover, the original Japanese poster.
I love the alt art on this. This is great.
Yeah, and the original and the A-side art is by Justin Coffey. He did the art for both of these. He's essentially our in-house artist at this point. We love him. He's super enthusiastic, which is a really big plus. But yeah, I love both of the bits of art. Yeah.
Well, let's get into some of the details. Here is the full synopsis, and mostly goes over through what Jared just talked about. So on this, we're going to have a Region A lock disc world Blu-ray premiere and the U.S. home video debut. That's pretty damn cool. New 2K restoration, new interview with the Ring screenwriter Hiroshi Takashi, new interview with Noroi, the Curse director Koji Shirashi. Limited edition features reversible cover with brand new art by Coffey on the A side and the original art on the other. Full color booklet with new writing on the film by Jasper Sharp. That's really cool. And then 1,500 numbered copies in the red case as usual.
Yeah, Jasper's essay in this might be worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah,
it's really good. I mean, he has written a lot about Nikatsu, so that sort of Nikatsu connection there is important. He also wrote the liner notes for Haunted Turkish Bathhouse that we did not too long ago, which also was a Toei film that had a Nikatsu connection. So and then he goes into a lot about the original 1960 Nobuo Nakagawa version. So very, very informative stuff. I have to say the two interviews there, we couldn't get any interviews with anyone associated with the film. We tried to get the actress, whose name is escaping me at the moment, who's the main actress in the film. She plays two roles. She plays the mother and the daughter in the film. She is like hugely famous. I think she was in Kurosawa's Ron, I think, and a bunch of other sort of very prestigious stuff. We tried. I don't think she ever got back to us. So we went with this Tom Mess, who's a Dutch guy who lives in Japan, and he produced the extras for us, and he
cool.
got the Ring screenwriter and the Noe the curse director, and they're great, really fantastic information about the film in both of those interviews. So good stuff.
Well, you seem really excited about this one. Do you have like a personal history with this title yourself?
I not a long personal history, to be quite honest. In fact, it was just last year that I saw it. If anyone follows me on Facebook, I always put my top 10 first discoveries of the year. The Inferno was on my list, and it is my favorite release that Mondo is doing this year. I think it's a fantastic movie, really original. Really, it was just I was negotiating with Toei about some films, looking for stuff, and just happened to come across it on a letterbox list, and was like, oh yeah, I've heard of this, let me find it and check it out, and just loved it. It was available, it was in HD, just lined up perfectly.
Nice. Go ahead, Chris.
Jared, why have more films from Toei Studios not come out? Is it just a matter of people in Region A not thinking to do it? Are they traditionally more difficult to work with? Like, why hasn't there been more from them?
Well, I think that's changing. I think there's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, just in the past couple of days, I think Shout announced the second volume of Sunny Chiba movies.
Oh, okay.
Those are all Toei films. Sunny Chiba.
Oh, okay.
Lifer, basically. So there's more and more. I think Film Movement has acquired some really good movies for their collection. They sort of are slower to release stuff on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
A lot of labels. They do theatrical runs for them. I don't know how much that actually works out for them, but you know. And so there's more and more. Discotheque is back in the business of releasing live action movies. They've got some Pinky Violence stuff.
Oh, cool.
Where Neon Eagle just did Zero Woman,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of the best Pinky Violence movies. So it's there. I think for a long time there was, I had always heard Toei is difficult to deal with, or if not difficult, just expensive.
Yeah.
And it's slightly pricier than some of the licensors we work with, but honestly, it has been the best experience of my career so far.
Wow.
Of licensing films. It's absolutely a dream to work with those people. The person that I work with over there, their North American agent, is just an amazingly wonderful person. Very nice. Wow. And they're very attentive to needs and not demanding, because that's something Japanese companies can be, is very particular about how things are presented. You mentioned Hiroko, Chris. That one was a kind of a nightmare to produce. To be honest.
Okay.
The studios involved were very, very particular about everything. The art, we had to edit the booklet, and the guy took his name off of it, Jonathan Clements, because he felt it was changed too much. It's still a really good piece, but they read it. We had to show them everything, and they were like, "No, this isn't right. This isn't right."
Wow.
Oh, that's true. I don't know. Not to cast aspersions on any. That's just sort of a sort of a Japanese business culture thing. I think they're just very protective. Toei is really open about everything, though. So it's been wonderful. It's been a great experience working.
Great.
And we're going to continue to work with them. I'm on the verge of finding 5 more films for both Mondo Macabro and Neon Eagle. So I hope you guys like them, because
I just got an email that said from the Toei North American agent, your check is in the mail. I don't know what that means. No, this one specifically looks great. Of the 2 that you are announcing, this one I think is going to make a lot of people happy. The second one is really, really cool looking too. We're going to get that one in a little while, so don't leave just yet. My big question, we mentioned a couple other titles, and I think Humboldt here is thinking along my lines. What about Woods or Wet release? Some of the other ones that you mentioned there, are those impossible to get? Are those somewhere in the realm of possibility, or elsewhere maybe?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Nikatsu. I've never dealt with them. We in the DVD days, Mondo Macabro did have some Nikatsu stuff out there.
Yeah.
Like Watcher in the Attic, which is a really good movie, and Assault, Jack the Ripper, which is a really, really disturbing like serial killer movie. And there's a ton of great Nikatsu stuff that's never been like, I loved the stuff that Synapse did through their Impulse label, but man, they missed a lot of good ones. So I don't know if that was just because they weren't available or what. I sort of haven't. I understand that they are sort of difficult, or maybe more expensive. I'm not sure. It may come up again that we try and work with them. There's some movies that I'd like for Neon Eagle, but we'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
It seems like lately just putting category 3 on something makes it jump off the shelves for some of these labels.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping that we get this big Pinky Violence renaissance and labels start jumping down that line, because it would be really nice to see some more of that.
Yeah, there's some more coming. There was some ones that I asked Toei about. They were like, no, those are licensed. So they're coming from somebody. I don't know. I could speculate, but I don't know precisely who. There is. We do Neon Eagle. We'll have another Pinky Violence movie, either next year, maybe 2025. Just depends on what Cauldron's schedule works out. I'm not going to reveal it yet, just because that's something I have to do in conjunction with the Cauldron guys.
Yeah.
But it's a fun one, a really fun one. And then another movie that's sort of on Pinky Violence light. It's not quite as sleazy, though it does have some sleazy elements, but it has a similar sort of energy and spirit that a lot of the Pinky Violence movies did. Those early to mid 70s Toei Japanese exploitation.
Fascinating.
Good stuff. Yeah.
If you ever were to do another box set, would you consider Girl Boss films, or do you know anything about this?
I think if I had thought about, I had pitched originally like to the first thing that I said to Jesse and Brian at Cauldron when they revealed they had Zero Woman and had a contact at Toei was Terrifying Girls High School box set. The Terrifying Girls High School Lynch Law Classroom is one of my favorites. That's a really class. The Girl Boss movies are a lot of fun for sure. Girl Boss Gorilla, Girl Boss Revenge, blah blah blah, Girl Boss Diamond Ball Game, and endless stuff. They're a lot of fun. The Terrifying Girls High School movies are just anarchy on celluloid. They're just insane, especially the two that were directed by Norifumi Suzuki, including Lynch Law Classroom. Alas, they've been licensed by someone else. So,
okay.
Oh well.
Interesting.
More Bollywood, please. Colin Brixley says, I see. Yeah, I would love more Bollywood as well. Really difficult. Really, really, really difficult. There's, I mean, we're always looking, but yeah, really difficult.
With the wide spectrum of cultures that you've culled some of these titles from, I'm always curious, are there some that emerge as they handled their elements better, so the restorations aren't as intense, and there's a pattern that you can see in that?
Yeah, the Japanese definitely have preserved their elements quite well. A lot of the Spanish elements from Mercury that we've gotten, a lot of the Spanish. That's one of the reasons we've done so many Spanish films. So we have a good working relationship with Mercury, a big licensing sales agent over there, and they've preserved a lot of their elements quite well.
Nice.
Although sometimes not the international uncut elements. That's something that's a problem we've run up into with a new one that we're working on right now. Is that we're really trying to find the uncut, the new scenes.
Right.
If anyone knows Spanish films, back in the days of Generalissimo Franco, they would release two versions. They would shoot two versions, one for the Spanish home audience where all the ladies kept their clothes on, and one for the international audience where they did not. So it usually, oftentimes we found that they've only have the clothed versions, which is kind of a bummer. And at the other end of the spectrum, it's Bollywood, like the Indian stuff. A lot of that has to do with climate. Yeah. And sort of the extreme volume of films made in India. So there's just like, if they kept all those films, there would just be, they would have no room for anything.
Right.
Probably things might be different now because they're shooting more and more on digital, but you know, I mean, it's the most prolific filmmaking culture in the world, and has been since like the 40s, essentially.
Forever.
So, yeah, it's really difficult. Yeah.
We got a good question from the chat. What do you think are some of the most must listen to Mondo Macabro commentaries on the discs?
Oh, that's a hard one. I don't really listen to a lot of the commentaries all the way through. If I have to check a disc, I will listen to it. Otherwise, I sort of just skim it here and there,
right,
and get an idea, especially when it's first turned in. I like to listen to a little bit of it. I'm a big fan. I've big upped the film Woman Chasing the Butterfly of Death, the Korean film. That has a great commentary by the guys who do the What's Korean Cinema podcast, Kenneth Rorson and Paul Quinn. I like that one a lot. For one thing, it's like a 2-hour plus movie, and they do a great job of keeping on the boil throughout the whole time. And both are just great talkers. So that's,
I happen to have it nearby.
Thank you. Very, very cool. Yeah. That's a really good one. I think Kat Ellinger did one. Because I QC'd the disc, so I did listen to all of it for "Don't Deliver Us from Evil." That is very, very good. She goes into, I mean, she's got her particular obsessions, and with a lot of feminist concerns, and how that ties into Gothic literature and sort of French fin de siècle occult culture, and it works with that movie really well. That's a great example of what she does really well. That's an excellent one. So those are two off the top of my head that I could definitely recommend.
And many of them are quite good. I think that Mondo is consistently one of the better, like, complete package for discs compared to some of the other boutiques. And the biggest thing is, because they're mostly unknown titles for people, it's this educational grab bag of wonderful historical context. One thing I'm gonna throw at Chris, because I know it's one of his favorites, so I'm gonna put him on the spot. Can you talk to us about Bertrand Mandico?
Come on. So Jared, did you ever get to meet or talk to Bertrand Mandico at all?
No, not at all. Yeah. I've not even watched all the movies on that set, to be quite honest.
Well, there's 11 of them. It's a lot.
Yeah. No, his versions, those they're really amazing. What I've seen, that stuff is really, he is a hugely creative artist. And no one else is doing anything like what he's doing right now.
Right.
So very exciting. Yeah, I'm very fascinated that's one that's kind of resonated with you, Chris. It's not one we hear a lot about, to be honest.
So I saw my first exposure to him was through Wild Boys. And I'm just blown away. Like, I love surrealism in general. And there's not a lot of, I would say, like, when you think about like the Jodorowskys of the world, or like the Buñuels of the world, or like, these kind of classic surrealist artists, I don't think there's a lot of people working today that would fit well with them. But I get that same vibe from Mandico's movies. Like, he's just so comfortable, like, without any narrative structure, and with just purely based on, creating something that drives how you feel and kind of controlling your emotions. So, I mean, Wild Boys, have you seen it by chance?
I haven't. No.
It has like plants shooting semen out at, and like it has another plant that's like a perfectly shaped hole for these boys to pleasure themselves with.
Of course.
And then there's like this whole thing with like gender identity and kind of this changing. It's wild and like in all the best ways. And I was just like, okay, I'm hooked. Like, this dude, who is this guy? He's amazing. So yeah.
Well, I know. I mean, I was very excited to be able to do that, just because that's something very different for us. For one thing, as a contemporary filmmaker, we don't really do a lot of that sort of thing, and it's short films. And I sort of must admit, those are both sort of blind spots for me. But I was happy because those are blind spots. I was happy that we were doing something like that. Because if it's a blind spot for me, it's probably a blind spot for a lot of people who are part of our audience. So yeah, it's a fascinating thing. He's a real wild talent for sure.
New check, I agree. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a couple of the comments that I was highlighting. Newt Shack says one of the best directors working today. Raven says love that release. There's so much on that to explore, and I mean, what else was on here? There was one of these features, Blue Cavalier, Oro in the Box. There's so much in here just to dive in, and you did 1,500 of these. I think I hate asking this, but are there still some available on the site?
Oh yeah. It was a slow seller for us. There was a contemporaneous release from Altered Innocence. Not something I think we do again. But on the other hand, it's kind of nice that it's still out there. Because we'll never repress it. So it's sort of nice that it's continuing to stick around. So if somebody, gets Chris's recommendation for it from this and goes, oh, I'm going to buy it, you can go to the big cartel, the Mondo Macabro big cartel, and buy it. There's plenty of copies available. So that's kind of nice that there's still copies out there. If there's one benefit of something not selling out quickly, it's that copies are still around for people to discover as over the lifespan of the release.
Yeah, next Thursday, if you go in for these Japanese titles, highly recommend throwing that one in there as well. If you've never seen anything from Mandico, they are just a visual feast for sure.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff. Or you could even wait for the Halloween sale. I'll probably be discounting. So
there you go, insider secret.
Yeah.
Chris, any road you want to go down before we go to the next title?
There's an interesting question about other contemporary directors that match the Mondo style. I think that's a really interesting question, because there is like I instinctively think that the movies are going to be coming from like the 70s or 80s, right? When I see a release from y'all. It's hard, right? Because a lot of these movies were made, there's always like a story behind it. Like the way they were financed is like just as interesting as the movie themselves sometimes for a lot of these, right?
Sure.
And that's not happening in the same way nowadays, I think, where you get these cavaliers that are out there rounding up $1 million to sell to the Philippines or something.
No, it is sort of lamentable that that's a different aspect of film culture. I mean, you still get mavericks like Mandico, but there's not a maverick like Jess Franco. There's not a maverick like Jose Morica Marins, Coffin Joe. Someone who, both of those guys, or Jean Roland, there were people who really, they should have had bigger and better careers because they were really talented, interesting people, but they didn't. But that sort of is what sort of makes them really interesting to us now, is that they were sort of very marginal. They existed on the margins of commercial cinema, that they were outsiders. You could classify it as outsider art. And is something like that even possible now? Because you have people making films for pennies on digital video, but is there that like obsessive quality to them? Is that sort of like visionary quality? Often I just think that they're just, and it's fine, but it's just a lark, or it's just, it's fun. And that's fun, because there was that aspect with Jess Franco movies too. He got all those people to work with him over and over again because he was fun to work with, and they had a great time making those movies. And so that's fine. But it's just like there's this self-awareness now, and this sense that it's, at best you might have a clip of something go viral or something. It's just, I don't know. It's just a different thing. And there's always really good and fascinating films being made, and I'm very much interested in contemporary cinema. But that sort of aspect, there are no Jess Francos, there are no Coffin Joes. There really just isn't. That's something that's gone by the wayside.
But I also think part of it is there's not the same element of like creating art that's against something, right? Like, a lot of these people were fighting, puritanical ideas of what could be on screen or something. They were like fighting something, right?
Yeah.
And nowadays it's like it's all good. Like you can show this.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and if they were going to fight against something, I mean, it probably leads them into sort of right-wing cul-de-sacs, to be honest with you, you know?
Right.
You know, it's like if they're fighting against something, they're sort of fighting against, you know, things they maybe shouldn't be fighting against. You know, sort of, I don't want to be political about this, but you know, you might have somebody railing against cancel culture or whatever. And maybe that does go too far, but it's not the same thing as railing against the Catholic Church.
No,
you know, it's not a
that's much
similar
fun.
sort of passionate sort of, you know, that,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, it seems more rebellious. Whereas now it seems it's just rebellion as something to wear to score troll points on the internet. It's not interesting. Not interesting to me. Might be interesting. It's probably interesting to some kid in their 20s right now or in their teens, but it's not interesting to me.
Yeah.
Well, you just brought him up, so I gotta, conjure his name again. Will Dodson, Dr. Will Dodson, who's on my channel all the time. He actually found me originally because of your first interview on the channel. He was looking up Mondo Macabro and found Disconnected. He commented that he just got the Sinister Dr. Orloff Red case in today, and now he has 105 Jess Franco titles on his shelf.
Oh my God.
Mind-blowing to begin with. But, the obvious question is, Mondo's had a rich history with Jess Franco. Is there any chance that there's more that you're looking into, or do you get the sense that other labels might be doing more soon? Because Jess Franco's always popular.
Is he?
With collectors, it seems so. I mean, Will alone has 105
Yeah,
films.
we've not had a huge luck with. We do Franco movies because we love him.
Right.
I championed Sinister Dr. Orloff for a long time, and when finally the licensor that we were talking to was able to acquire the elements needed to make a new scan of it, new restoration of it, we jumped on it. I love it. I think it's a great movie. It's not been a terrifically huge seller, if I'm honest. I think Other Side of the Mirror, which we did before that, did a bit better. That's a top 5 for me. That's a top 5 Franco. That's an incredible film. To answer your question, no, not really. We're not looking at him right now. Franco is something that just seems to come up. We don't really look for it anymore. I think both the last two have just been like, we had put, we talked about it, those particular movies before with the licensors, and it had not come to anything at the time, and then they came back up. We didn't really pursue them at that time anyway. And I think probably going forward that it might be like that. Honestly, a lot of the good ones are taken. I mean, I think a lot of the ones don't get me wrong. I love Jess Franco and I love his marginal films. In fact, in July and August, I watched 26, I think, Jess Franco movies basically in a row.
And you can still speak. I can understand you. That's wild.
Jess Franco movies for like 3 weeks. And it was fantastic. But I watched a lot of kind of crummy movies,
right?
Because he is with a filmography so vast and a working method so haphazard. That's just the way it worked for him. Is that he was some of his movies, but there's always like a few sequences. There's like 1 or 2 scenes in a movie that just has that Jess Franco spirit to it.
Yeah.
But I and honestly, in all the movies that I watched that I had not seen before, there wasn't a one of them that I would put out on Blu-ray. I don't think so. Yeah. And again, I'm a huge fan. I wouldn't have watched 26 movies in a row
right.
if I wasn't a huge fan. And I don't mean 26 movies like in one, like over the course of 3 to 4 weeks. I basically watched nothing but Jess Franco. But so I'm a huge fan, but no, not right now. Yeah, I think we may have tapped out. I'm pretty sure Severin is the source for Franco Maniacs right now. They're doing a great job. I am sure they have some more, because there are still some bigger ones that are out there that have not made the jump. I think some of that may be down to rights and or materials. A big one with a particular Roman goddess in the title has been missing for a long time. Hopefully somebody clears that up and is able to make that work.
And that one in particular better be Severin.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really say. I do know that somebody has been looking into it. has been trying to sort that out, but I don't know where they are right now with it. But I am fairly certain Severin is doing some Jess Franco, Jess Franco.
Right.
They seem to always have some.
Well, let's go to a very different sort of question in the chat. Private Vices, Public Virtues is one of Mondo Macabro's boldest releases. Can you talk about the difficulty in releasing artistic-leaning cult or sex films?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of difficult, mostly from just a commercial standpoint. That was something that's never really gotten the attention it deserves. And I'm right there with, I missed their name, but I'm right there with it. I think it's a really, really good movie.
Yeah.
That's a top 10 to 20 Mondo Macabro Blu-ray for me. It's a really great film. That one wasn't necessarily hard to put together or anything. It was just sort of a thing where we put it out there, and it was sort of met by indifference and or confusion, because it's not quite an art house movie. It's not really an exploitation movie. It sort of has elements of both. So it's this sort of like hybrid what's it that no one really knew what to do with. We got some weird reviews from people who should have been very sympathetic to what we were doing with that one and just didn't.
Right.
That's a very prestigious director, Jansko.
Kino just did a bunch of his stuff.
What's that?
Kino just put out a bunch of his stuff too.
They did, yeah. And Second Run in the UK has done a lot of his movies. That's mostly what I have a lot of their releases. And a fascinating director. I think that's his best movie, personally. For me, maybe like The Red and the White, his 60s war movie is really fantastic. But those two are the best, are for me the best ones. Yeah, a great movie. I wish more people would discover it. Our rights actually are probably ending soon. We'll probably let it skate until somebody else wants to put it out again, because we probably won't be. The person we licensed it from has lost the rights, so it's with Studio Canal now. So we're not going to re-sign it. It didn't do well enough for us to re-sign. So
right,
but it's so people should buy it. It's still available in the Big Cartel, not the slipcover edition that sold out a long time ago.
Chris, you want to throw one out there?
In terms of a question?
Sure.
Yes, I would. No, I'm.
Once you think of it, yeah.
No, I mean, I guess the biggest thing I'm curious about, Jared, now that we have you kind of in locked attention, is is this still fun for you? Like I hear you talk like there's like a honeymoon phase when you start something like this, right? And you really dive in, and then at some point it becomes a job. But it's I mean, I'm just saying that's human nature. I'm not speaking for you.
Oh yeah.
But like, is this still fun for you? Because the releases have not dipped in quality at all. If anything, I think each one gets stronger. But I assume some of that is because you just know how to do it well. So how?
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, it's every job has its rough days. Any sort of job where you're doing a retail aspect has days when it becomes drudgery. It becomes stressful. Dealing with I don't want to put it like dealing with customers. It's not really like that, but everyone knows what online culture is like, and it can be difficult dealing with certain people's personalities, and just sort of sometimes the logistics of sending out the Halloween sale pre-orders. They were delayed and just the box set was huge. I had to rent like a mobile storage container to put outside my house to store them in. Yeah, I mean, so logistically it can be tough, and those and they're just like everything, you have bad days, but is it fun? Fuck yeah, it's fun. Okay. I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to work with something you love. It's exciting for me to make a deal with Toei for 5 more films. It's exciting. In fact, a lot of what I did today was working on extras for 2 upcoming Neon Eagle titles. I got to look at an extra that just got finished in a rough cut. That was fun. I got to look at the HD transfer of a movie we're doing probably early next year for the first time. That was fun. It's exciting. It's fun. You know?
Yeah.
So absolutely, yeah. I don't want to say like, oh, I would, I would stop doing it if it wasn't fun, because there's more to it than that. It's my job. So, but to a certain extent, maybe, I keep doing it in part because it's gratifying and it's exciting,
Actually, there was one that thank you for the honesty on that. I love that. That made me think of a comment you made earlier that I wanted to dig into, because one of the releases that I haven't heard as much chatter about as I thought there would be, but I want to call out, is Ravishing Danny. I hope that's been a good seller for y'all, because that movie is fantastic.
It was sort of the least least well selling of that batch.
Okay.
I think because it's essentially a European sex comedy, but it's a weird one. It's an oddball film for sure. And Sandra Julien is just stunning. She's, if anyone's a fan of Shiver of the Vampires. In fact, if you're a fan of Sandra Julien, we have got a lot more Sandra Julien coming. Mondo Macabro. So this was just sort of the first salvo in the Sandra Julien renaissance.
Interesting.
You got Indicators, Shiver of the Vampires release, which I recommend any Mondo Macabro fanatic get because it's astonishing. I'm a huge Jean Roland fan, so I love what Indicators doing with those. Finally, some fantastic releases of those films.
Some worldwide respect.
As an aside, Ravishing Danny. It's a great movie. I think it might be my least favorite of that set, which is not to say it's not a really fun and cool little movie.
I got two title questions, and then we're going to go into our second reveal, I think. One is just if it's ever been on your radar type. In my Discord and Patreon, I got somebody that has been pressing for information on this one for a long time, and I think you're the best one to ask. 1984 Filipino film, Snake Sisters. Have you seen it? Have you been able to chase it down or know anything about it?
Well, I think longtime Mondo heads will know Snake Sisters. If you've ever watched the coming soon, or the out now and coming soon reel that's on all our releases, it's been the first film on there since probably 2005, 2006. It's not coming. I've talked to Pete many times about, we should take that off. I can't really talk about it.
Got it.
Honestly, there's weird legal things about it. If you know anything about Filipino exploitation films from that time period, you might be able to guess why. And I can't really say anything more than that, which is a shame because it's an amazing movie. It's amazing. It's a unique, one-of-a-kind thing. I think Andy Stark, who's one of the co-founders of Mondo Macabro, called it Clan of the Cave Bear, directed by Coffin Joe. And it's spot on, man.
Oh, wow.
It really is like that. And that director, Kelso Ad Castillo, is another director that sort of has that same spirit that I was talking about with Franco and Roland and those others. He's just sort of a maverick that went his own way in the Philippines. And again, with a kind of an oppressive government and an oppressive Catholic Church, that seems to be it's a common theme with a lot of those filmmakers.
Yeah.
It was a visionary talent. Andrew Leovold. Do you guys know who Andrew Leovold is? The Search for Weng Weng guy.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. He's sort of a Filipino movie expert. He's actually, hopefully, I think this is sort of public knowledge, but he's making a documentary about that era of Filipino cinema.
I've
Snake
heard
Sisters and Scylla.
before.
Yeah, it's been in the works for a long time, which is why I think it's okay for me to say that. Sorry, Andrew, if it's not. And I'm a huge fan. Andrew's working with us on some stuff, so hopefully that's okay. But it's a really fascinating. He's going to be doing a documentary and maybe a book too about that whole period and about the Marcos government and everything and how that all ties in.
Wow.
But as to the main point, Snake Sisters, it's an amazing film. There's a really terrible version out there in bootleg land. Get it. I mean, if you watch it, it's really worth seeing. There's some uncomfortable sex stuff, but it's an amazing movie. Yeah, Andrew is a legend. Andrew is like one of the last great raconteurs of this world. I missed an opportunity to meet him in person a few years ago because I was ill. And he was in Seattle for Search for Wang Wang. And I will always regret that because he's an amazing man. A really, really fun guy, a great writer, the whole bit.
Well, the other question, I'm sure you kind of figured this was going to come out tonight. We have retailers listing standard edition of the 4K of Dr. Caligari, and the internet got up in arms for 24 hours about that showing up. And then the other question surrounding that is going to be that there's these rumors floating around that Mondo is the one that has their hands on Cafe Flesh. Is that something that you want to quash right now, or let everybody consider?
Well, first of all, what was the up in arms?
Because it seems like some people expected that it wasn't coming for a while, and I don't know why.
I've always been
pretty open about it.
This on the Blu-ray forums too. I don't get it. I've always said it's coming. It's just right. I didn't know when. It was just a matter of I did not know when.
Right.
And honestly, I found out about the retail release of this because I'm not much involved in the retail aspects of these releases. I found out about it like a few days before it was revealed. So I mean, it's just one of those things. I'm sorry if people were caught off guard or off put about this, but if they've followed what I've been saying it's coming. It's just I didn't know when. And
I personally don't understand why anybody would be upset. Like, more people get to see the film in the best possible format. Why would we be upset?
Yeah, I guess people are just upset now. They think their slipcover copy is less valuable, so they can't sell it for as much on eBay. I don't know. I'm sorry if that's the case, but we want as many people to see this stuff as possible. And it's a great release. And like I said, it's always been part of the plan. I don't know 100% why. I wasn't privy to those decision-making processes about why there was the Blu-ray first and then a few months later the 4K. I honestly don't know. But it was always part of the plan that there would be a retail 4K release.
That's a good thing.
So what was the second question?
Cafe Flesh, because Caligari came out from Mondo Macabro. The rumor mill is, of course, immediately swirling that Mondo must
because there's a restoration.
Flesh.
Yeah, there's a restoration of it.
Right.
Yeah, and we were involved for a long time. It was very up in the air. Vinegar Syndrome was also sort of involved. There's a sort of a rights sort of a thing. I think they claimed they had rights, and nothing against them. I think they bought rights, but it maybe wasn't 100% legit because Steven Sadian actually still possessed the rights, and still does. Except now, it has been decided he has sold the rights to us. Yeah. Yeah. Mondo Macabro. We're putting out Cafe Flesh next year.
Wow.
I don't know if it'll be UHD, just because the restoration is from prints and not from the negative, like Caligari. But we are doing it for sure.
Wow.
It's
amazing.
Yeah.
Please tell me, Heather.
So that's
Drain
first big reveal.
Extras.
Yeah, I was going to reveal a couple of things. And that's one of them. Yeah,
the zipper move was epic, by the way.
I know, right? I know. And this is the Mondo Macabro misprint shirt. They printed this, but they didn't do the colors right on this.
Oh, it's not red. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just the blue and there's like not the red that's supposed to be like right there. I couldn't. My other one doesn't fit me anymore.
Yeah, that's a huge piece of news, though. Cafe Flesh and Caligari from the same label is big. The big thing, like I kind of mentioned while you were speaking, hopefully Heather Drain can be involved in Cafe Flesh as well.
Oh, I'm sure she will be. Yeah, I'm sure. if nothing else, she'll write the liner notes for the limited edition again. Like her essay for Caligari is fantastic. It's just
it's maybe the best thing of the disc front. I love it.
Yeah, it's just a great piece of writing in and of itself. Just like she's an explosively talented writer. Really, really great.
She's incredible.
Yeah.
So wow, Cafe Flesh, man. Maybe I
know.
Hold off on the next title drop because that's a big deal.
I know. It's sort of hopefully people will still let's get to that Japanese one just so we don't lessen its impact any more than we might have.
All right. Any build up before I reveal it? Anything that you want to highlight before you say the title?
I don't know. It's a really great movie. It's a horror movie. We got in just before Severin. Severin really wanted to release this too, so it was like, so if that tells you anything, I think I haven't actually seen the folk horror documentary, but I understand this movie might be in it or referenced in it. And it is essentially a folk horror film. It definitely does fit that mold. So take it away, Ryan.
Curse of the Dog God.
Yes. Yes.
The art on this is stupendous.
Yeah, I know. It's really
amazing.
Great. Justin Coffey again. Just amazing. He always does great work. He loves these Japanese movies. So it's like he would do them for free. I think we always pay him, but I think he would do them for free. This Curse of the Dog God, directed by Shunya Ito, who many of you may know as the director of the first 3 female convict Scorpion movies, which I'm a huge fan of. The second female convict Scorpion movie, Jailhouse 41, is maybe top 3 Japanese movies overall for me. Chris, are you a fan?
I just changed so on Reddit I have like a kind of a blog that I keep. I created a subreddit just because it was easier. So and I just changed my backdrop 3 days ago to Jailhouse 41.
It's an amazing movie. It's one of the best movies of the 70s, period. I think it is amazing. It is.
I remember the first time I saw it, the scenes where there's that like flash of color behind them and the hair is going crazy, and it's just like it kind of takes you into this alternate reality for a minute. It's just like, what is happening right now? This is amazing.
I know. As far as like surrealism in a commercial cinema context, it doesn't really get any better.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Curse of the Dog God is not quite as good as those female convict Scorpion movies, but it's really great. It's really weird. It's a straight out horror movie, which of course the female comic Scorpion movies aren't. It's an occult horror movie. Like I said, it's a folk horror thing. Really, really wonderful, bizarre film. I want to get one thing out of the way before we go into this any further. If anyone knows this movie or knows what it's about, even there are aspects that would make people uncomfortable just hearing about it and maybe even watching it, as far as possible abuse of animals is concerned. But I can assure you that no animals were harmed in the making of the movie. Dogs that appear dead are just drugged. Are they more roughly treated than they would be in a contemporary movie? Probably. But no animals were seriously harmed and definitely not killed in this movie. So I just wanted to put that out there, because if you read the synopsis, the movie hinges upon the death of a dog.
Right.
So I just wanted to put that out there. Hopefully everyone is not like tuning out right now.
No, thank you for the warning. I completely get that. That's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I will also champion as many times as I possibly can the reason to share information like this with everybody and really push people to use the website. And Jared, I don't know if you've heard about this one, but doesthedogdie.com is a real website. And in every single film, I know this phrase might be I'm going to say it on purpose, triggering to some people, but it's a website dedicated to trigger alerts, basically, where if you are sensitive to certain things, you go check this website first, and it will tell you if there's animal abuse. It will tell you if there's depictions of suicide or death or
stuff.
Everything. It is so all encompassing, and people go on there and report it, and it's fantastic. We got the OG art on the screen for Curse the Dog God. Wild original art on this as well.
I know, it's very unusual, isn't it? Yeah, it's very cool.
It's such a unique style. It's not one that you see from back then very often.
No, yeah, it is really weird. It does. There's a very sort of late 70s Japanese sense to it. But yeah, it's very unique. And the movie is very, very unique. It's very weird. It has that sort of Toei exploitation-y feel to it. Maybe more so even than the Inferno, the last movie that we announced. But it's a really cool, very weird, very interesting little movie.
Nice. Let's get into some of the disc details. It is a Region A locked disc, world Blu-ray premiere, and again, US home video debut. Always happy about that. We got a new 2K restoration on it. It is Japanese language with English subs. New interview with the director, Shunya Ito. New interview with Noroi, the Curse director, Koji Shirashi. New audio commentary by Chris Paggiali and Mark Wacko. That is great.
Yes. Yeah. They were in right from the beginning. Yeah. Mark was someone who was really championing this film to us whenever I told him that we were talking to Toei. He championed it. And then another friend of mine, Arbin Hassa, who's Duke Togo on the Blu-ray forums, championed this movie and tried to. Yeah. So shout out to Duke on the Blu-ray forums. He was a champion of this movie. And honestly, I was concerned about the animal stuff, and then I watched it, and and I felt it was okay, and then found it, and we kind of confirmed later that everything was on the up and up.
Well, yeah, when you got access for an interview with the director, you can find out firsthand.
Yeah, and I believe he does address that.
How old is the director now?
He's, I think, in his 90s, his 80s and 90s. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
old. Yeah. I mean, it's a real difficulty. That's a real thing you come up with a lot in dealing with these old movies. Is people are dead. Just speaking really frankly, people are dead or sick, or just that was a different part of their life, and they don't want to talk about it anymore, or they don't remember. They they made 1,000 movies. And they just don't. It's just one movie that they made in the year 1973, and they don't remember it at all. So it's a difficult problem with these old movies. But we were really lucky to get Shunya, to get Mr. Ito here. It's a good interview too. It's a good, really fascinating, informative interview. And another thing, Koji Shirashi, again, the director of Noroi, the Curse, which is the best found footage movie ever made.
I would actually probably agree with that.
It is, although maybe it's more of a faux documentary movie than a found footage movie. I don't know, but it's really fascinating. And he has a lot of, again, as with the Inferno, he has a lot of really great insights. Certainly as someone who is also a director of Japanese horror, so really good stuff.
Speaking of Japanese, I don't at all want to gloss over the fact that Tom Mess did the booklet on this, and Tom Mess, as everybody knows, similar to Jasper Sharp, is enough to buy certain releases just to hear Tom Mess talk about stuff. I mean, he's literally written the book on multiple genres, and he's
and it keeps writing. He had a couple of books I think come out recently, or one coming out, and another coming out, or something. He's really great. He produced all these extras. He did all the interviews. He subtitled the films for us, or cleaned up the subtitles for us, because we got the subtitles from Toei. But he was intimately involved with these two releases.
Nice.
And a really great guy, a really super nice guy, and very well informed and well connected. So that's how we were able to get Shunya Ito. Mark Walko, who did one of the two commentators, was also he helped a lot too. He was sort of behind the scenes and putting us into contact with people and stuff like that.
Wow. These look like two incredible releases
for sure.
Pre-order information next week, correct?
Yeah. So what did I say? September 14th? Is that
14th? Yeah.
So 9 a.m. Pacific time. Google what time that is where you live. That's what I always say. Because there's always somebody who's like, "What time is that?" Just Google it.
Right.
What's wrong with Google? Just kidding. It's okay. But 9 a.m. my time, noon Eastern time, 11 your time. Chris and Ryan, Central.
Yep.
So Thursday, that's the day we like to do them. I like to do sort of a long weekend structure for pre-orders, for the initial pre-orders. So by Sunday I know what's going on. Thursday. So be there. No big sale or anything. No other titles. Just these two for right now. Hopefully we'll sell them 1,500 copies of each one, numbered in the red cases, reversible sleeves.
But there's 3 because people are also going to buy Apocalypse After, right?
Yes, they're going to buy lots of copies of Apocalypse After. If I don't sell at least 100 copies, I'm going to be quite cross with you, Chris.
Right.
I'm going to blame you. You didn't sell it quite enough.
Well, speaking of selling things, and to make up for Chris, why don't we get into our first big giveaway? You want to do the giveaway now, Chris?
Oh yeah, I almost forgot we were doing that.
I do. The only thing is I have no context for who to give it to, or no.
I've got it set up, so we're going to do this on the fly with a random number generator. Of course, we had exactly 69 entries for our giveaway.
69.
And it had to be. The big thing, we are doing the full 2022 Halloween bundle. So we've got the Bollywood box, Dr. Caligari 4K, and then the what is the other title? I don't have that one with it.
Witch's Mountain.
Oh,
Witch's Mountain, and they're all sealed, right? Brand new.
All sealed in the box.
All right, so I have this random number generator and a spreadsheet already made out with everybody that entered. I made sure to check all 3 of the criteria, and I'm going to spin this just so it can be super random 5 times. Whoever is lined up with that number on the 5th one is going to get the entire Halloween 2022 bundle. So here we go. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and the winner. Oh, that's early. Number 6. Number 6 is Justin Slade. Justin Slade won the Halloween 2022 bundle. And
Justin,
we got
are you out there? Are you here? Are you
watch
there?
it live. Please let us know. We're going to be doing a couple more of those in just a little while. But first, we got more to talk about. Justin Slade, please comment if you're there. First, I wanted to say, Jared, you got the Halloween sale coming up. And you are never quiet about the titles that you really love and respect from the Mondo library. Any like 3 or 4 that you haven't spoke up about that you want to really highlight right now?
Oh gosh, God, I can look at my things. I mean, I would suggest we mentioned it earlier. Private Vices, Public Virtues.
Yeah,
that's one that I would really love to see more people discover that film. It's a really wild, really interesting movie. If you just like offbeat, obscure European cinema, it's a great one. It's something that never really gets the we sell more during the sale than we do at any other time during the year,
right?
But it's a good time to buy it. It's a good time to take a chance. It'll probably be one of the cheaper ones just because it is one of the less best-selling of the titles. So that's one for sure. Let me think. I know, I saw somebody mention in the live chat Succubus. That's a really interesting movie. And also, speaking of folk horror, that is a straight out, that is as classic an example of folk horror as you can get. And there's a sexy dame in it. Sexy dame, as you can see on the yes. Very 80s looking, but so that's one. Again, I always got a rep for Women Chasing the Butterfly of Death. If you don't have it, please get it. It's one of the best movies it's a favorite movie of mine just in general.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. Director Kim Ki-young. Anything else sort of recently? I know like everyone was in love with Haunted Turkish Bathhouse, and with good reason. That movie's amazing, but and it's not as though House of Terrors, the other Japanese movie that came out with it, has not done okay. It has done pretty well, in fact, but it's one that's not talked about as much, and it is really wild and really interesting too. Definitely worth checking out, especially if you like Gothic movies. If you've seen some of the Arrow and Severin box sets of Gothic horror, like from Italy, or the Indicator Mexican horror box set, the Gothic movies, it's in line with those, except it's from Japan. So if it's perfect Halloween viewing for sure. So although Halloween sale stuff does never come in time for Halloween, sorry everybody. But yeah, so those are off the top of my head. Yeah, those are some good ones that maybe people should include.
Barney wants to know, because you'll remember earlier they said that they got one of their earlier titles. How much are titles usually discounted during the Halloween sale?
It depends. It really does depend. Some might be like half of the MSRP, so it would be like $15. Some of the DVDs I'll put as low as $10, $8 even. So some of the more recent stuff, I might just knock a couple of bucks off to where it's like 18, 17, 16, something like that. This time I will be knocking a little bit off of the shipping fees too. And that's in part because we're going to do something a little bit different. And do you mind if I talk a little bit about the titles that we're doing?
By all means, please do.
So we're going to be doing five, I think at least that's the plan right now, unless something falls through. 5 brand new releases, limited editions for the titles. So that's, I think pound for pound, maybe the last Halloween sale was a bigger lineup.
Right.
But this is a big lineup. And at least one of those will be a double film set. And at least 2 of the others will have multiple versions of the films available. So the thing we're going to do a little bit differently this year, and I'll explain sort of why, is we're going to do a flash pre-order for the bundle.
Oh.
So I know a lot of other people have done this. I don't know. I don't know. Do fans like this, not like this? I'm not really sure. But there's going to be a flash pre-order. I don't know how much longer before the sale starts, but there will be. You'll only be able to buy the bundle, and it's the only way to guarantee a low number. And it'll be the only way to guarantee that you get the extremely limited edition UHD that we're going to be releasing. So if you guys have seen some of the news, I'm not sure if you carried it, Ryan, on your page, but the Chaque Film, the French label, they released a movie that we're calling Death Squad. It's like Brigade de Mort or something like that. Something that's my awful French, by Max Pickus, the director Max Pickus. So they recently did if anyone wondered why their UHD edition was only 500 copies, it's because we're doing the other 500. So it will only be available as this flash pre-order. It's only part of the bundle. So this is there might be some grumbling about this. This is really, I want to celebrate the fans who are the diehards who buy the bundles. They go all in no matter what it is. This is to give you something specific. So this will be the bundle. So you will only be able to get it. It'll be, I don't know, a week, a few days beforehand, 500. It'll actually be less than 500 because I'll need to hold some back in case of lost mail or damaged copies or whatever. I always have to do that. So, but around 500. So the first 1 through 500 of all of these, you have to, in order to get one of those early numbers, in order to get this UHD edition, you're gonna have to pre-order this right anyway. And it's the only thing you'll be able to order at the time. It'll just be the bundle. I'm sorry. It'll make shipping quicker, which is good because everyone grumbles about how long things take to ship. It'll make shipping quicker if I can just send out only bundles for the first 500 orders. So really good reasons for all of us. So this again is a good thing for me as the person dealing with the logistics of shipping out, and it's a good way to deal with the fact that we only have a certain number of these UHDs, and it's something to really give a gift to the hardcore fans. So if you want this UHD edition or you want a low number, you're gonna have to do the flash pre-order.
Can we get a link to it now and buy it live on the show?
You have to wait. You have to wait.
Okay.
I will set the date soon. So it'll be well in advance. People will know. I'll probably within the next 2 weeks, I will have all that settled. So people will know. So the other, and so I'll talk a little bit about real quick about the other things that are going on in the sale. The other 5 new releases. So I don't want to reveal one. I will say that one we're not going to reveal till like right before that flash pre-order. It's going to be a big one. It's a much. I'll say this. I'll only say that it's a much requested €70 horror.
Interesting.
That's all I'll say. And it'll be there'll be some people out there who have like literally comment every time we announce something. They'll literally every time you guys are going to jump for joy. You guys are going to be so. There's one guy in particular that I know is just going to break down crying. He's going to be so happy. So that's one thing. Small chance we might do a UHD of it. Not fully 100% decided yet.
Can you also just reveal the title? No big deal. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's almost got me there, Ryan. Oh no, I'm not going to reveal the title. I will reveal, other than Death Squad, the only other one I'll reveal is just because we have soft announced it before, is an Indonesian film, Chris. It's Special Silencers.
Oh no way!
Yeah,
with Barry Prima.
No
so do you guys know
way.
this movie, or have you heard about it, or know what?
Yeah, lots.
About? Yeah, it's a really wild movie. It's about people like it's this criminal organization, and their weapon is, or they have they're drug dealers or whatever, and a drug that they're selling and that they use to get across their nefarious aims. I don't even remember how it really works. It's a little pill that you ingest, and when you ingest it, it makes a huge tree suddenly and grotesquely burst out of your torso, your cavity, and it's full of very gross, and it's a very gory, very nasty bit of horror action exploitation business. So special. Then my top want since it was announced, says Jeremy Wilcox. Me too, man. It's fun. It's really wild. It's really great. So that'll be on Blu-ray. Get a red case release. Working on the extras right now. So those are the 2, Death Squad and Special Silencers, that I can say for sure that we're doing. Then there'll be 2 others. Both will be Spanish films. So there's a lot of, we go hard on the Spanish stuff. Which doesn't sound good. I don't know. That sounds kind of weird. Yeah, so one is a 2 disc, will be 2 disc set, 2 films from a director plus his early films, and then the other thing will be another the second in our series of Clasificada S series, the S rating for Spanish cinema from the late 70s, early 80s. So it's an erotic film that's not at all in any way erotic. There's just it's really grotesque and bizarre. But we'll reveal those in the coming weeks. Next, probably as soon as I get done shipping out the Japanese titles, I'll reveal at least those, and then that final big secret title will be revealed like right before
Sweet.
the flash pre-sale.
That's overwhelmingly awesome.
So
I hope so. I hope people are into it.
Really, really random tie-in here, but I had a friend in high school who, I don't even know how it happened, but she got plugged into the Indonesian soap opera scene. She was like a regular actor on these Indonesian soap operas.
Okay.
And one of the directors that she mentioned was a guy named Arizal.
Yes. Yes.
So anyways, interesting tie. I've had that name kind of in my head for a while because it's a easy name to remember, but I know he was a huge director, so that's pretty wild that you're getting.
Yeah, he is the director of Special Silencers. Yeah, and directed a lot of other really fun action movies, including I think he directed like a couple with Chris Mitchum.
No way, really.
Yeah, Chris Mitchum is one of the worst actors I think ever to be in exploitation movies. He's terrible, but he was in a lot of really fun movies, and those two,
Yeah, exactly.
two Arizal movies, and they're both a lot of fun.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
You've gotten like 90 questions on this, so I may as well ask it. Do we get another chance to buy these shirts ever?
Maybe. That's actually something we just talked about again recently. I was reluctant to again to repress it just because the first ones we did, like, I ended up having them forever. Like, they didn't sell really well. It was sort of early on though, with the sort of direct sale stuff. And I did only red shirts, and that was sort of not popular. People were like, "Why didn't you do a black T-shirt?" So maybe we'll do
other T-shirts black. Come on.
I know, right? And it's red. We have a history with the color red.
As Chris and I are wearing black T-shirts.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, right. And I purposefully didn't want to wear a black T-shirt. Just and then I found this. I'd forgotten I even had it. So maybe, we might do those again. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe for Halloween, if I can get my act together and actually organize it. But maybe not. Maybe the next year. But
that's maybe, especially on top of 5 titles.
Yeah, and the sale and everything too. It's a lot of work. And again, for anyone who doesn't know, I do all of the shipping myself. I don't have a shipping crew. I don't have a big enough facility to do that. So it's just me. So give me a break if your order doesn't come as soon as you want it to come.
Will says he just went to went to the site right now looking for a T-shirt.
Sorry, dude. Yeah. Final score. Yeah, that's one of those Chris Mitchum ones that I think. Because someone confirm, is that an Arizal movie? I think it is.
I believe so. It sounds like it. I really like this idea. Chris says you should do red shirts for a first run and then make them blue for the second run. Like your cases.
One thing we won't do is white T-shirts, because only weirdos wear white T-shirts. Like, who wears a white T-shirt? Like, I don't know. That's
people on spring break in Florida, I guess.
I guess so. And girls entering wet T-shirt contests. Yeah.
One recommended.
They're not Mondo Macabro fans. I don't think.
Recommendation I wanted to throw out, and this is going to be a cue for Jared to do one of his giveaways, is a Perversion Story, the Fulci film.
Oh yes, because I have a copy of the slipcover edition to give away.
Amazing! Hey. Let's do that.
Yeah.
What a wonderful segue.
It is not sealed, but it is very rare, and it's still in really nice condition, and it's also numbered. It's number 401 out of 1,000.
That's a pretty low number.
Do you want Perversion Story? Well, maybe if you've entered Ryan's little contest thing, you might win it.
I removed Justin Slade so that he cannot win again.
He cannot win again.
So now we have 68 entries, and we're going to mix this up 3 times. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and the winner this time. Oh wow! Of course, we go to the very bottom end of the list.
Yeah, the opposite end of the spectrum.
The winner on this one is Brent Pearson.
Hey, Brent Pearson.
I'm going to add this to my spreadsheet so I can keep track and let us know who to ship these to. Brent Pearson has won.
Maybe you'll give me or have them get in touch with me with their.
Yep, I'm going to email them. I got you.
Shipping information. Yeah. And I'll put it in a nice box. It'll be nice. It'll ship. I won't put it in just an envelope. It'll be
just put a sticker on it.
Yeah, I'll just literally put the label just right there on top of the.
Yeah, perfect.
But you can see the inside cover there, different, and of course the lovely Justin Coffee art on.
It's a good one.
We're accidentally paying homage to Italian cinema because the 2 winners have been J and B so far.
Oh wow! Very, very acute there.
That was apt.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, the exciting thing for a lot of people, other than the Halloween slate, is what's coming next year. Was Cafe Flesh the main thing that you were going to talk about for next year?
Cafe Flesh was, I mean, it was literally on tap for me. That was one of the things I was going to reveal.
Well, I took that early. You're welcome.
You sort of messed everything. You stole my thunder a little bit.
Well,
it's good. So if any, hopefully people are excited. That, I mean, we've been asked 1,000 times if we were releasing it. So hopefully that will be something that excites people. Again, I don't know about UHD yet. I'm sure I'll be asked about that. Just because, like I said, the restoration, there was not a negative to restore from. They had to restore it from various prints. Now, what I understand is that it's pretty amazing what they've done. And it's the same people who did the Caligari restoration, who are the same people who did the recent Picnic at Hanging Rock restoration. It's the same people who did the Suspiria restoration that Synapse did. It's the same people who restored the Andrzej Żuławski movies. So the Polish stuff that came out from Eureka recently, which everyone should get that release if they have.
That is a hell of a resume right there.
Yeah, it's a really interesting company they sort of got their connections through Daniel Bird. They knew Daniel Bird, if anyone knows him.
Yeah.
He's sort of someone who lived and worked in Poland for a long time. He worked a lot with Żuławski and did a lot of stuff. He helped produce that Borowczyk box set.
Wow.
And also was very instrumental in the restorations of Caligari and Cafe Flesh. So he's been a part of that too, along with the company. Who I should give them a shout out by name. They're absolutely, the Polish names of the people, unfortunately, are escaping me, and the name of their company are escaping me. But really, really excellent work. So it'll look really fantastic. I just don't know. It may just be Blu-ray at this point. I don't know. We'll have to take a look at it and see. So, but it is coming. So
that's a big deal.
Yeah, I think so. We've had tons of people ask about it.
Yes, you in the front, Chris.
Question for Jared.
Yes.
So we're talking all about world cinema. This is one of the big things on my list, and I didn't put my list on my computer, so that's why I was hesitating to think of questions. But this is one of the ones I wanted to ask you. We talk all about world cinema, but we don't talk a lot about American cinema. With Mondo Macabro, one of the questions I had was, you have a personal connection to something weird, but I don't know if it's ever something that you would consider, or if that's if you've ever thought about it or talked about it, because it feels like that's a corner of American cinema that might be relevant.
Well, working with something weird.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you mean? Yeah, we have.
I've got it here somewhere. Yeah, I was trying to find it. There it is.
Yeah, the Bushwhacker and the Ravager. Yeah.
Okay.
This was a something weird collaboration.
Okay. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was again, this is sort of something that didn't sell all that well for him. And it's two very rough prints of two very rough 70s roughies, so it's sort of understandable. It's not one of our most popular releases, but it is one that's sort of dear to my heart, because something weird is really important to me. It's always been really important to me. And Lisa Petrucci, I can consider her a friend now, which is really amazing. And one of the few regrets I have is I was in the room twice with Mike Vraney, the founder of Something Weird, and didn't talk to him. I was a nobody. I didn't work for Mondo Macabro at the time. And one time was just a comic book store in Seattle. I just was in at the same time as him, and he was chatting with the guy behind the counter, and I didn't want to interrupt him. But I was like, that's Mike Vraney. Something weird. And the person I was with was like, who? I don't care. So I missed the chance to meet him, but it's an important label, I think an important label for everyone, because it's an important part of the history of boutique labels that I don't know if a lot of people who have come to it more recently know about as much. They might know the AGFA Blu-ray releases or something like the stuff with Kino or whatever, but they were doing stuff on VHS in the 90s. They really pioneered. They were the first ones to do the Coffin Joe movies. Mike Vraney was the person that called him Coffin Joe. He came up with the term Coffin Joe. Was whatever it is in Portuguese. It means like Joseph of the coffin, not Joseph Cotton, Joseph of the coffin. And it sounded really weird to Mike, and Mike was like, that's not sellable. How about Coffin Joe? So it was him. So all that he did Mexican movies. They did all the great American exploitation stuff. And then of course how I discovered them I'd seen their stuff before and was unsure about it. But I discovered it much later on with the Image DVD releases from the early 2000s. So that's Chris is right. I have a deep love for Something Weird, their whole aesthetic, for Lisa, for Mike, and in fact that release we did. Honestly, it was a chance for me to just sort of pay homage to Mike and Lisa and the work that they did with Something Weird. Cool. As far as working with them again, we tried to come up with a few things that by the time I was talking to her, she had already sold off a lot of what she had to like Nicholas Winding Refn of all people, and to AGFA, and had made deals with Severin and Kino and some other people. So there wasn't a lot. And we tried to come up with some other stuff, but nothing really stuck. So, but never say never. There might be something we can work on again together. I would love to. Lisa's an amazing person. So
Before we get to the next giveaway, I wanted to ask about a person that's been near and dear to Mondo for a long time too. Paul Naschy. I know that you probably can't reveal anything more on the upcoming slate or anything, but anything, a wish list of titles that you would love to do, or anything else that you could hint at or throw out to people for recommendations for the sale related to Naschy. I think Naschy deserves a portion of this because you've done so much for Naschy.
Yeah, Naschy's. We love Paul Naschy. Big heart to Paul Naschy and all the films he did. It's kind of fun is we've sort of specialized in his directorial efforts the last few years, like Panic Beats. The two best are the Frenchman's Garden and The Devil Incarnate, aka El Caminante. Those are his best movies. Those are amazing, just works of marginal world cinema. Just wonderful films. And we love Howl of the Devil. I love all those movies that we've done. Are we going to do any more? No comment.
Interesting. Okay. I will throw out.
I can't reveal anything. I don't want to reveal anything, but Naschy is always something that we're going to be thinking about.
Good. Yeah. Good. I do want to say Panic Beats is one that people should have their eye on if you've never seen it. Night of the Executioner was a solid release. One that was written about actually in the Physical Media Advocate in our first release. John Peters in the chat wrote a nice piece on it. Anything with the Naschy name and the Mondo Macabro line is probably a really great investment if you've never watched them. Yeah. In particular, if a lot of people did sort of more people have slept on Frenchman's Garden and Devil Incarnate than some of the other ones just because they're not horror films. So those are two more that I would add to you should check them out at the sale if you haven't. If you haven't, show this. Yeah, is that? Yeah. Are we about to get shut down? That's all right.
Yeah,
it's been a good run.
Yeah, this is a good release.
Yeah.
Let's see. You want to get to another giveaway? You can choose something from your stack there.
Sure. How many more should we do? We got about 10 minutes, and then I should probably be sort of easing out a little bit.
Let's make this the last one, and then we can wrap this up.
Sounds good. I'll make it a good one.
Okay. Do you want a surprise, or I can draw the name first, and then we can find out what it is?
Yeah, let's do that. Draw the name first, and then
Okay. I will mix it up 3 times again.
Okay.
There's 1, 2, 3. Wait, is it not showing on the screen? Okay, it is. 25. Number 25 is not a name, because I only have the email addresses here. I'm going to say the Pappy. THEPAPY. I don't want to give away any of your personal information because it's not a name. So I will mark that down. And if that's you, hey, you can claim it. Jared, what do you win?
Yeah. Well, he has won. So speaking of, we've spoken a lot about Spanish cinema here. How about, would you like a red case copy of Who Can Kill a Child? And not to get yeah, this has been long out of print though.
Yeah.
It's not numbered. It's a copy that we made for contributors, so I don't know, it might be less valuable or whatever. But you could still probably sell it on eBay. It's a Pappy, you could probably still sell it on eBay if you don't want it. But it's, I went through a bunch, and this is the only one that I could find. I went through a bunch of stuff today to find stuff for this. This is the only one that I could find. This might very well be the last one in my possession.
Wow.
So this is quite this was the big prize for the night. The big kahuna. Yeah.
That is a damn good release.
Yeah. This is an original. I can't remember if that's a Spanish poster or an Italian poster that we used, different from what we used and it's got a reversible cover that's also different from what we used on the retail release. So completely unique, and it's got a booklet with it. Might have some postcards too. Yes, yeah. So and that has the alternate title too, Island of the Damned. Yeah,
that is a hell of a giveaway for one of Will's alt accounts. Will, how many alt emails did you create? What's the honest answer? Because that number was 52 in the beginning of the day. All of a sudden, it was 69 when I logged in.
Well, I posted again today, and we got a whole bunch of people late in the day that were really wanting to be part of it. I'm glad they got in.
Yeah, that's really cool, and I thank everyone who sort of signed up. That's, from what Brian tells me, that was a larger number than have signed up for a lot of giveaways. Am I revealing too much by saying that?
No, not at all. And the funny thing, Chris and I kind of debated back and forth of what we should do for the giveaway, and asking people to email anything is a big ask, but asking them to email 3 screenshots really weeds out the people that are like, oh, I want to enter every giveaway. So now these are the real big fans are like, oh my gosh,
these are the people who wanted to be a part of it tonight. Yeah. That's really cool. Hopefully the Pappy, you don't already have Who Can Kill a Child, or whatever. But as soon as we get your actual human name, we'll send it to you.
Yep, I will be sending some winning emails tonight, and I can't wait to see how people respond to these, because that's a huge prize. That thing's been out of print. What year did that even come out? That was like 20.
Oh gosh, I don't even.
18?
Yeah, it's something like that. And that was an early one that was like, I think we only did 1,000 because we were only doing 1,000 at that time, and it sold out.
Yeah,
as I recall, it was one of the ones that sold out fairly quickly at the time, and it was sort of I thought like a good sign of things to come.
Right.
We had something going with this, limited edition thing. So,
yeah, that was a 2018 release. That's a long time ago.
2018. Yeah, it is. Weird that it's that long ago, but yeah. All right.
Well, as we wrap it up, we talked a lot about Mondo tonight. Anything that we want to share about Neon Eagle? It's only very, very early in the Neon Eagle days. We've got 2 releases out.
Yeah. So we've and it's nice. Both of the limited editions, the first 2 limited editions are now both sold out, which is good news for us. Kill Butterfly Kill, which took a while, but it's a hugely obscure film. And then Zero Woman Red Handcuffs, the Pinky Violence movie.
Yeah.
So, and I should be QCing that disc any day now, any minute now, honestly. So that is coming pretty soon, probably within the next few weeks. Hopefully everything will be put together. I always remind people, I do not fulfill those orders. Take it up with Jesse. Take it up with Cauldron Films. Take it up with Diabolic. I have got nothing to do with that. I love you, Jesse.
It is smart to pull yourself away from that side. So good job.
Yeah, no, yeah, and that's part of part of what the joys I have of Neon Eagle is that I get to do the fun stuff and not as much deal with the heavy lifting, the dishwashing that, that's poor Jesse and his tireless diabolic DVD crew.
He's got the workers. He'll be all right.
Yeah. So we've just had those two so far. We've got more in the works. Like I mentioned, there are three Japanese films actually. I've on the verge of signing. The deal is ready to go. I just need to write my name on it and send some money. But those are a little bit farther off in the future. We're working on one thing right now. There's a bit of news, I think in the Cauldron newsletter, it said it would be October that the next Neon Eagle would be going on sale. That's been pushed to November. That is just so there's not a long wait time between, because I know some people are a little bit sore about that, the wait time sometimes with the Cauldron stuff. I don't think it's a big deal, but so we're pushing it off just because it is a big project and we added a big extra to the thing we're working on right now. And I won't reveal the title, except I will hint that it's the biggest thing we've done, the biggest thing we have signed so far. It's a film that even like normal Joes sometimes even know about, like just people who are like know about fun so bad they're good movies. It's a pretty big movie, and it's going to be a super deluxe edition of it. We're going to blow some minds. I'm hoping. I'm thinking. The cover is really great. The cover design is really cool. Lots of great extras. Been working on that a lot the last few weeks. Everything's coming together. Like I say, we added this sort of one last minute big extra that absolutely was essential, but it was sort of a last minute thing. And to sort of give us enough time, that's been pushed to November for that pre-order date. It'll probably ship in January, I'm guessing, after that. That's the big thing. I wish I could reveal more. We'll probably tease it right before it actually goes out on sale. I'll put out a little teaser or something, and people will be excited. And again, it's an Asian film. All Neon Eagle stuff is Asian. So yeah. And then after that, we've got a couple of other things, including Chris, an Indonesian movie. One of the hairiest, one of the most vile, one of the most disgusting exploitation movies ever to come from Indonesia. So
take my money.
Yeah, I will gladly.
With everything that you do for Mondo and Neon Eagle, you've got a giant wall of stuff behind you. If we can kind of leave on just this general feeling, how do you feel about the whole industry / hobby right now? Because I know that you're very much like me. You get excited about a lot of the stuff coming out, and you're not one track minded like some individuals. So, just how do you get an overall sense of how you're feeling right now?
Well, I on one hand, as a fan, I like both of you guys, and like everyone that I'm sure is commenting here and watching us. I am a fan. I'm not just a fan of movies. I'm a fan. I'm a collector. Like this is just part of my collection. This is my Asian wall. And then I have some Criterions up there. I don't think you can see them, but this is like where I have a lot of my Asian films, and then I have got the Mondo Macabro stuff. I've got all the Arrows stuff. I've got a bunch of stuff. I'm a fan. I'm a collector too. So I see a lot of stuff, and it gets me really excited. And in that sense, I think it's an amazing time.
It is.
I think like what Indicator is doing right now just blows my mind. What Eureka is doing, a lot of the stuff that Vinegar Syndrome is doing, a lot of the stuff that Severin is doing. Smaller labels like Connie and Deaf Crocodile love what they're doing. They're doing really amazing stuff. Arrow just announced we mentioned him a couple of times, Coffin Joe. I've been dreaming of something like that for years. Yeah. I just cannot wait. I couldn't pre-order that fast enough. It's an exciting time. But on the other hand, you get a little deflated when you go to a lot of the comment sections and you see people go, nothing for me this month, or and you don't have to be. No one, it doesn't have to be. Not the stuff isn't for everybody. Not everybody can be a Jean Roland fan. Not everybody's super excited about every Hong Kong kung fu movie that Eureka or 88 is doing. I understand that, but man, it just seems like there is a good portion of the market out there that is I don't know. They seem not open-minded about stuff.
I
They
would
just feel
agree.
like they want the Chucky movies. They want the Freddy movies, you know?
And
They
that's
just
it.
want the same old mainstream stuff. And that stuff is great. I like those movies too. I love, like, I bought the big Shout Factory Friday the 13th set. I love those movies. I love the mainstream stuff. I got nothing against it. But come on, man, like, give Coffin Joe a chance, you know? Give Mondo Macabro a chance. Like, really give, like, what we're doing is not super mainstream, but you might still find something that you like and might open your mind. So that's my little rant about, you know, that. And I don't want to say, I'm not like, it's not a negative thing about anybody. Everybody, we do this out of love. It's what makes you happy. I wish there was sometimes a bit more open-mindedness in the market that I'm seeing. And I guess maybe it's disappointment because I thought that people would become more open-minded as this thing got bigger. And in some ways it seems like it's gotten more conservative. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I am. I really do. But so that's sort of, you know, there's good sides and there's bad sides about everything.
Yeah.
And you know, the industry itself, I worry that that's too much. That's my big worry, is that there's just too much. And I see a lot of people worrying about how much stuff costs, and all this stuff. And this is real world stuff. This is like, people, you know, people have kids, you know, people, you know, have to put a roof over their, you know, heads, you know. It's you know, not everybody can buy everything. And so I sort of worry that the bubble is going to burst a little bit. I think we're well prepared to ride out something like that because we have before, and because we don't throw tons and tons of money like some labels do. Again, no disparaging or no ill will or ill feelings or ill, you know, anything. But I think some labels are going out there and doing too much, quite frankly. And there's a glut. And I would like to see, it's difficult because, like I say, there's amazing stuff coming out all the time. How many amazing announcements do you do every week? Like,
it's a ton.
50 announcements sometimes, right? More.
Yeah.
A
month ago there was 100 in
stuff.
one night.
That's stupid.
It is.
It's just stupid. But it's exciting too. But at the same time, how can this last? You know, I worry about that. I don't think it'll last. I don't think that physical media is going away anytime soon. I'll just say that we're all in it. Just, I think, you know, a lot of us are lifers, right? I mean, you guys, you're lifers. You love this stuff, right? And a lot of the people,
we're here.
A lot of the people at the Blu-ray forums, these are people who really love this stuff. If they, you know, they've been collecting it since the 90s, or they just started a month ago. It doesn't matter, you know. And I think that's really fun too, that there are still people coming into this. There's still people discovering this stuff all the time. That's really exciting, and we need those people, you know. So that's my little rant. That's my thing. I'm very much an advocate for this. I have my worries, I have my concerns, but I love it. And there's a lot to love right now. It's a really exciting time.
Well said. If I can rant on the positive side for just a second, I will say, in this industry, support good people. Support Mondo Macabro. They've been working at this for so long. Literally one of the main boutiques that have been here some of the longest time compared to all of the others. Also support people like Chris Haskell, who at They Live by Film puts out some incredible interviews. Just dropped one with a label that I really appreciate, Canadian International Pictures. It's a wonderful interview. And if you like good, exciting things like this, come back here Thursday night, same time. Deaf Crocodile's announcing 3 new titles on the show. And I've got
very exciting.
Three trailers to debut that night. And on that note, I think Jared forgot about this. Why don't we all leave everybody that's been hanging out all night and show the Curse of the Dog God trailer for everybody? Here is
the original Japanese trailer.
Here is the premiere, and then after this, we will end the show as soon as the trailer's over. Thank you all for watching. Have a great night.
Yeah, bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, sometimes it has to load. I'm sorry. Let me refresh. Here we go.